That's the Kick-Ass 2 theme. At least that's what it should be. That was my impression of it.
It was not like that.
Yeah, it's actually more like da 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 da. That's more
it.
Yeah, I know, I nailed it. What can I say? But hey, everybody, this is Hunter here. I'm here with Scott and Colin, and I gotta.
And Panda eating a tree.
Yeah, yeah, I'm wearing a Panda shirt, but I gotta admit, we're usually pretty good about getting these reviews up as soon as they come out, but Kick-Ass 2 was something we saw back in, I don't think it was November, early December, me and Colin, and just to give you guys a little, let's go into story time with Hunter here. So, we get out of the movie, Colin's not really reacting, and I was like, oh, Colin, what'd you think of it? And Colin says, and I quote, yeah, I really didn't like it. And I was like, well, what didn't you...
Yeah, I did say that.
And I was like, Colin, why didn't you like it? And Colin...
Because I didn't like it.
And Colin goes into these reasons about why he didn't like it. And I was kind of... I won't say indifferent. I wasn't a big fan of it, but I did like a couple things. But the more Colin brought up these really good points, I was like, you know what? Fuck this movie. This movie sucks. So... what am I going to give it? What's Colin going to give it? We don't know. But what...
coming up next.
But we got Scott here who hadn't seen any of it until... we split it up over a couple days. So, Scott, if you could kind of give one or two sentences about this movie, how would you describe it? I'm intrigued.
I would describe this movie... I don't even know. It's hard to describe, to be honest.
How so?
Like, it's like pretty forgettable. It's hard to describe because I don't remember very much of it. Just because there wasn't like anything exciting about it, and it's boring. I don't know.
Well, one thing I'll say is like me and Colin, I think both agree that the first Kick-Ass was a pleasant surprise. I mean, there was like
the first Kick-Ass.
Yeah, like the soundtrack was surprisingly good. Nice. I thought Chloe Grace Moretz, she's known now, it was really fun in it, and so you kind of go into this. It's like, all right, I expect things to be better than how you're playing it when you had nothing to prove, and I think movies do definitely suffer from this. Like, they make a movie that's good, but that no one expects to be good. So then when people find out, oh my god, this is a really good movie, then they feel like they can be super relaxed and not care about the sequel. And I thought this was a prime example of that, in my opinion. Colin, would you? Because you feel very strongly about this.
Yeah, so you asked Scott to describe it in like a couple sentences.
Yeah.
I'll describe it in one.
Go ahead.
I thought it was very, 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 very dumb.
Well said. Well said.
Sorry if I lost anyone. I'm sorry I used too many big words on that description. But that's the only thing I can think of when I'm thinking of the movie. I mean, there's people vomiting on cue from a weapon and then like shitting their little panties.
Oh, yeah.
They're shitting all over the ground. And then it happens again, like Clark Duke tasers someone during a big epic battle and he vomits all over his shield.
Yeah.
And Christopher Moritz-Platz, he's awful.
Wait, the
McLovin.
Yeah, McLovin is horrible.
McLovin's the worst person you could ever want to carry your movie as a villain.
But before we get into it, I know I told you guys to give one sentence about it. I can give one word, and that was uninspired. This movie felt like it had no vision. It felt like it had no commitment. Jeff Wardlow, I want to say what this guy's name is. He, I might mess up the last name, but if you need a point of reference, he did the movie Never Back Down, which was a very forgettable, uninspired action movie, even though it had the UFC support. And this is the same thing. It had a comic book that it's based on, and I think they had some good actors, but they just couldn't put shit together. The dialogue was horrendous for most of this. The way it was shot didn't make you feel like you're watching a comic book movie. And when people kind of get hurt, except for one, you're kind of like, I don't care. Like, why? Like, you're not putting any effort in this, so why should I, as far as being interested?
I really, really missed
Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage, exactly, dude. I miss Nicolas Cage as Big Daddy. He was great in that first movie.
No, I couldn't agree more.
Because it's just Nicolas Cage and he's crazy, and it just makes the movie a little crazier.
Yeah, like I mean, he clearly he clearly was like inspired by it. Because I mean, you watch the last two Ghost Rider movies. I mean, they're horrendous to watch, but he actually felt like he gave a shit about the movie, and like him and Chloe Grace Moretz play really well off each other as Hit Girl and Big Daddy, and then another person we're talking about that we forgot to mention is Mark Strong, who's the villain, who was
awesome,
who was McLovin's dad in the
He's a good actor. I like that guy.
Yeah, Mark Strong's really good. He was good in Sherlock Holmes too. I mean, he
was pretty strong in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, he was. Oh my god, he was really good in it, but you don't see him here, and it's up to Christopher Mintz-Plasse to carry the movie. It's just. It just doesn't work. It kind of folds in itself. But let's just kind of get to the plot real quick. So pretty much, I mean, you can explain the plot really quickly. Not McLovin. Red Mist. I keep calling him McLovin. Red Mist, who was a character Christopher Mintz-Plasse played in the last movie. His dad got killed by Kick-Ass in the first movie. So he adopts a new persona as the motherfucker, which is like the dumbest name ever for a villain.
Stupidest name.
With one of the dumbest outfits. So it's just like, oh my god, really? So he becomes the motherfucker and recruits this army of evil villains to pretty much kill Kick-Ass. I mean, that's the movie, pretty much.
The best way to describe him is like they want you like to be like, oh, it's funny because it's just a kid. But then at the same time, they're like, oh, we want him to be like a bad guy. Like you can't be like a goofy villain and like take you seriously. Like they tried to get the audience to take him seriously at the end. It's like there's no way that you can after. I don't know. It's just it didn't work out.
So there's one scene in the original comic book, because I have read the comic where. The motherfucker and his group of villains pretty much rape Kick-Ass's girlfriend. Not Night Bitch, but the one in high school. Like, it's this full-on scene, and, like, reading the comic, you're like, oh my god, really? I was really hoping they would cut that whole just sequence out of the movie, but they referenced it with the girl who plays the Night Bitch, who's Kick-Ass's girlfriend in the Justice Forever team. They try to make a joke out of it where the motherfucker's trying to get hard to fuck her and he can't get up. And they're just like, and she goes like, oh, well, evil, what she says, like, evil feels a little limp or something like that. And then they just go like, he goes like, oh yeah, just beat the shit out of her. It's like one of those scenes where I'm just like, you really should have skipped this. I mean, it was really uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
And
that whole scene was so stupid.
It was awkward. And it's just like, oh, rape is hilarious, isn't it, kids?
And
like,
honestly, McLovin isn't that funny to pull that scene off. I'm sorry, he's really not that funny.
That's something that a Jim Jeffries or especially a Louis C.K. could have written that joke out long enough where you could have been like, all right, maybe I would have gotten a chuckle at least. But yeah, Christopher Mintz-Plasse is just not talented enough as an actor. And I gotta say, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who's playing Quicksilver in the Avengers, I hope this isn't his best work, because I am just like, if this is the best you're doing and you're going to be in the Avengers movie next year, you're going to fuck it up and I'm going to be super sad whenever you're on screen. So I'm a little worried. I'll be the first to admit that Joss Whedon picked him. I'm just like, I don't know, but Joss Whedon has proved me wrong before, so I have faith, and he's in Godzilla coming up, so hopefully,
Yeah, at least they shaved his head for Godzilla.
Yeah, so he doesn't look like...
he doesn't look like crazy.
Yeah, like he doesn't look insane. But, Scott, you're quiet over there, man. So tell us, like, what were some of your impressions of the movie?
Pretty unforgettable. And by unforgettable, I meant forgettable.
Well done. I remember.
By unforgettable, I meant unwatchable.
Unwatchable, damn.
No, it wasn't that bad.
Well, I mean, like, I will say for me that I watched it and I was just like, I'm waiting for it to turn a corner. Like I'm waiting for it to kick in that third gear.
No, once that girl like pooed her pants.
Yeah,
the skirt, like, that was the end of the movie. Right
I wasn't waiting for it to ramp up. I was waiting for it to stop being so horrible.
Yeah, just like hopefully, like the quicker it went, the better.
I was holding out hope that it would get better, and it just.
I lost all hope on the high school scene.
And it just.
I really did. Then I just started like murdering it in my head.
Yep. The problem was for me is that like I liked parts of how they were kind of having Hit Girl be like. Just a normal girl and have to deal with her own insecurities. I'm like, okay, this is an interesting take, and this is a total random reference, but I'm kind of pulling from the Iron Man 3 perspective, where it's like, okay, alright, he's not in the suit. I'd prefer to see him in the suit, but you're at least crafting something that I can go like, oh, well, alright.
And Hit Girl was not in the suit until, like, the end.
At all. Like, I mean, that first sequence, she's in it for, like, 5 minutes, but, I mean... And I'll be the first to admit, it didn't bother me. I was like, okay. But the problem is that most of the dialogue that's written for her and is written for everybody is so bad and horrendous.
Well,
and
the alternative to her being in the suit is her being at high school. And that, like, I would have her being in the suit 10 times over a scene at the high school.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the thing was about her is, like, they just didn't write... that much good stuff for her. And I'll be the first to admit I was waiting. I was really thinking, come on, maybe she can pull us out. Maybe she can like turn into something interesting. And it never hit that point. I never felt super intrigued. I was mildly interested, but never like, oh man, I'm glued to the seat. Hit Girl's gonna be awesome. Not being not being in the costume.
I think that was one of my big criticisms. Was I just felt like they could have done the transition with Hit Girl, like, giving up heroism and just going to high school. Could have done that in, like, 1-2 scenes, max. Just get through it, and then you're like, oh, she's like, oh, no, I love killing people, I'll be Hit Girl again. Yes, awesome! I want to watch Hit Girl all movie, that's great.
Yeah.
Don't drag it out for an hour.
Yeah, no, I agree. I felt for me that Morris Chestnut, who's plays her Big Daddy's friend who was on the force, who adopts Mindy McCready, I thought he was really good in it, and I liked their back and forth, but I was like, you could have gotten more mileage out of this if there had been a better writer. Like, we just watched that Patton Oswalt special. He does, like, a lot of writing on movies and, like, shows and all that. I feel like this movie needed a punch-up writer, someone to go through and look at the jokes and be like, because most of them were, it's like, okay, that's a shit joke, let me rewrite this. Like, it needed a punch-up writer to go through and edit this a little tighter, because they could shave 10-15 minutes off this.
I just feel like when you lose your original director, like in the second movie, like no one's gonna take as much care, like as like the person who like it's their baby, like they're evolving it. It's like their kid. You know, you just throw someone in here and like, no, just do Kick-Ass 2. The original person doesn't think we should have a sequel, so he's not doing it.
Yeah. Matthew Vaughn, who did one of the best superhero movies I've seen, and by far the best X-Men movie in X-Men First Class. He was just a producer on this. He was not the director. Mm-hmm. And when I explained that to Colin, he was like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. And it really does. Because you'll notice the difference in just the way it's shot, and the intensity level, and in the dialogue. It's just
just the tone and everything, the way everything's delivered.
Yeah, I mean, let's get to grades here. I personally, if it hadn't been for that kind of... Actually, now I think about it, that one last complaint real quick. McLovin. The motherfucker, one of his big heavy hitter is this girl named Mother Russia, who's this big, tall Russian chick. And so you're waiting for the fight between her and Hit Girl. And I gotta say, that was so disappointing for me to watch. It was like, this could have been choreographed so much better and had more passion behind it. So putting all that into just trying to put it all together, I gotta give this a D. I mean, it's not quite an F, but I mean, there are enough things that kind of made me go, okay, that's actually kind of cool. But overall, I was severely disappointed in this. This should have been a much better movie than what they handed us. So yeah, I give this a D.
I think there are really high expectations for this because people love the first one so much.
I agree.
Like just a mediocre to like mediocre bad movie. Yeah, just like it wasn't like a serious superhero movie at all. That was not a fan, and McLovin was just so dumb. Like if that's gonna be the person opposite Kick-Ass, like there's no reason for me to like fear that person. So
yeah.
I don't know. It didn't bother me as much because like I wasn't like super excited about the second one. So I gave it a C-.
C-. Okay. Colin, what you got?
Yeah, I'm just gonna say I hated this movie. I think Scott brought up the best point was that I had this one. I was anticipating this movie.
Yeah.
Because I did like the first one a lot. I actually did like the first one. If I was to grade, I don't even know what I would grade the first one to this day, but it'd be between a B and an A.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Going into this one, just something felt off the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have that sense of cool. It kind of had this sense of like trying too hard. Especially from McLovin. Oh my God, McLovin was such a horrible choice. And I know they were probably pot committed from the first one. That's how the character evolved. Yep. So we just got to use them. I mean, that's awful. So they were handcuffed there, but he was horrible. There's no, I mean, no getting behind that.
No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really, really dumb.
So what's your grade? You gotta give it a grade.
If it was just a standalone movie, I probably would just give it like a C-, maybe D+.
But it's not.
But I was actually anticipating it, and it just really pissed me off. I think to another level.
Right,
so it's a solid. You're taking the class over again because you failed. It's
all right.
Damn.
Sorry, Kick-Ass 2. Try again next semester.
Damn. Hey, I can't even argue with you. Because that was something that, like, dropped my grade down. It's like, people were being like, oh, well, what's good about Kick-Ass 2? I'm like, there's this one, but then there's, and I'm just like, damn, I can't really think of a lot of good things that were in Kick-Ass 2. So, I mean, I had a C before I really sat down and thought about it. Like, no, this is a D. And I'm probably being even too kind giving it a D, but,
Yeah, I mean, I probably could be a little bit lower on it, but it didn't make me mad.
Fair enough. Well, hey guys, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Check us out on Facebook, and keep listening.
Talk to you later, guys.
Just keep on living.